What if the person you're paid to care for holds the key to healing your own broken places? What if the lonely elderly woman you see every day is actually carrying a secret that could transform an entire community? Tonight, I'm going to share a true story that will challenge everything you think you know about aging, wealth, and what really matters in life. This isn't just another Christmas story. This is a powerful account of how a healthcare aide's discovery of a hidden diary revealed a Christmas wish so simple, so profound, that it would bring a neighborhood back to life. You'll meet Eleanor, the wealthy widow everyone saw as fine, but who was dying of loneliness in her beautiful mansion. You'll meet Maya, the caregiver struggling to make ends meet while tending to someone who had everything but what truly mattered. And you'll discover the moment when a diary found under a Christmas tree sparked a revolution of connection that would prove it's never too late to find your purpose or build the family you choose. If you've ever felt invisible, wondered if your life still matters, or questioned whether one person can really make a difference, prepare to have your heart restored. This story will show you how the most powerful transformations often begin with the most vulnerable among us, and how a single act of courage can ripple through an entire community. You know, there's a particular kind of loneliness that grows in beautiful houses with empty rooms. For Mrs. Eleanor, an 82-year-old widow living in a mansion that echoed with memories, the Christmas season had become a time of profound isolation rather than celebration. Her home healthcare aide, Maya, noticed how the older woman's eyes would linger on family photos from Christmases past, her hands trembling slightly as she polished silver that hadn't been used in years. The financial struggle that forced Eleanor to hire help rather than have family around was a bitter irony. She had wealth, but she'd lost the community that gave it meaning. Every day, Maya watched this proud woman maintain her dignity while her heart quietly shattered. Now, let me ask you something. When was the last time you looked beyond someone's polished exterior to see the quiet ache beneath? We often assume that people with beautiful homes or successful careers have it all figured out, but the truth is, loneliness doesn't discriminate by zip code or bank balance. This week, try this powerful practice. Identify one person in your life who seems fine, but might be struggling, and reach out with a specific, no-pressure invitation. Not, let's get together sometime, but I'm going to the Christmas market Saturday. Join me for hot chocolate? You'll be amazed how these small gestures can be someone's unexpected help. Maya had been caring for Eleanor for 6 months, and in that time, she'd learned the rhythms of her clients' silent suffering. She noticed how Eleanor would carefully arrange the Christmas decorations exactly as they'd been when her husband was alive, how she'd set the table for two out of habit before remembering. The family's secret Maya gradually uncovered wasn't dramatic. It was the simple, heartbreaking reality that Eleanor's children and grandchildren were too busy or too distant to visit, sending expensive gifts instead of their presents. The sacrifice of raising a family had left her with beautiful memories but an empty present. The week before Christmas, something shifted in the household. Eleanor became unusually quiet, spending hours in the attic and emerging with dusty boxes of old ornaments. Maya found her crying softly while hanging a particular angel on the tree, one with faded wings and a handwritten date from 1965. That's when Maya decided to do something that would cross professional boundaries but honor human connection. She started arriving early to make Eleanor breakfast, staying late to watch Christmas movies together, and slowly, carefully, building the kind of community that can't be bought or scheduled. But she had no idea that her act of kindness was about to lead her to a discovery that would change both their lives forever. You know how sometimes the universe places exactly what you need to find right in your path? Well, on December 23rd, while Maya was helping Eleanor decorate the Christmas tree, a small, leather-bound diary slipped from between the branches and fell at her feet. The cover was worn soft with age, and when it fell open, Maya's eyes caught words that would haunt her. My Christmas wish isn't for things, but for someone to remember I'm still here. The secret thoughts of the lonely grandmother she cared for were now literally in her hands, and the ethical dilemma she faced would test every professional boundary she'd ever learned. Let me ask you something. What would you do if you discovered someone's private thoughts? We often wrestle with the line between caring and intruding, between helping and violating trust. Here's a guideline I've found useful. Ask yourself, is this about satisfying my curiosity or genuinely helping this person? If it's the latter, proceed with extreme care and always err on the side of respecting privacy. Sometimes the most powerful act of kindness is honoring someone's dignity by not crossing lines, even when we desperately want to help. Maya carefully placed the diary back where it had fallen, her mind racing with what she'd read. The glimpse into Eleanor's inner world revealed a depth of loneliness she hadn't fully appreciated. This wasn't just about missing family during the holidays. This was about a fundamental human need to feel seen, valued, and remembered. The financial struggle that had seemed like Eleanor's biggest challenge was actually just the surface symptom of a much deeper ache. Maya realized that all the perfect care in the world couldn't fill the void where family and community should have been. That evening, as Maya prepared to leave, Eleanor did something unexpected. She handed her the diary. "I think you should read this, dear," she said softly, her eyes filled with both vulnerability and resolve. "I've been keeping secrets long enough." The storytelling that unfolded in those pages wasn't just about an old woman's loneliness. It was about a life rich with love and loss, wisdom and regret, and Christmas wishes that had gone unfulfilled for decades. And the final entry, the one written just that morning, contained a Christmas wish so simple, so profound, that it would set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just Eleanor's Christmas, but an entire community's understanding of what truly matters. You know, the most powerful wishes aren't for diamonds or luxury vacations. They're for connection, for meaning, for the simple human moments we often take for granted. Eleanor's Christmas wish, Maya discovered with tears streaming down her face, was heartbreakingly simple. She wanted to cook Christmas dinner for people who had nowhere to go. Not in her formal dining room with the unused silver, but in her warm, lived-in kitchen, using her grandmother's recipes. She wanted to fill her quiet house with laughter and conversation, to be useful instead of just being cared for, to trade the loneliness of wealth for the richness of community. Now, here's a practical thought for you. What's one simple wish you could grant for someone in your life this week? I'm not talking about grand gestures, but the kind of gift that says, "I see you, I hear you, I value what matters to you." Maybe it's helping an elderly neighbor decorate their tree, or inviting that coworker who's far from family to join your holiday celebration. This week, try wish detection. Listen closely to the small, almost throwaway comments people make about what would make them happy, then make one of those wishes come true. You'll discover that unexpected help often means more when it's deeply personal rather than generically generous. What happened next in Eleanor's elegant home felt like watching a beautiful revolution unfold. Maya didn't just read the diary, she acted on it. She reached out to the local community center, the homeless shelter, the nursing home. She reached out to Eleanor's neighbors, the young family who always waved but never visited, the college student's home for break, the widow across the street who was just as lonely as Eleanor, but too proud to admit it. The response was overwhelming, not because people wanted a free meal, but because they recognized the profound hope in Eleanor's wish, the desire to transform isolation into connection, to turn a house into a home again. On Christmas Eve, as Eleanor and Maya prepared for the next day's dinner, something magical began to happen. The doorbell started ringing, not with delivery drivers bringing expensive gifts, but with neighbors bearing contributions to the meal. The young mother brought her famous pies, the college students came to help with preparations, the widow across the street brought her late husband's favorite Christmas album. The financial struggle that had once defined Maya's relationship with Eleanor faded into irrelevance, replaced by a shared purpose that transcended economic status. And as the kitchen filled with people and laughter, Eleanor's transformation was visible. Her shoulders straightened, her eyes sparkled, and for the first time in years, she wasn't just existing, she was fully alive. You know how they say the way to someone's heart is through their stomach? Well, Eleanor's Christmas dinner did more than feed hungry people. It nourished starving souls. On Christmas Day, her mansion, which had been silent for so long, echoed with the beautiful chaos of 30 people from all walks of life sharing a meal. The CEO sat next to the homeless veteran, the college student beside the nursing home resident, the young family next to the widow. The community that gathered around Eleanor's table represented every stage of life, every economic background, united by the simple human need for connection and the courage of one woman's Christmas wish. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you shared a meal with someone completely different from you? We often gravitate toward people who share our background, our beliefs, our life stage. This month, try diversity dining. Intentionally invite someone from a different generation, economic background, or life experience to share a meal with you. You don't need a mansion or fancy food, just an open heart and a willingness to listen. You'll discover that the most interesting storytelling often comes from the people we might normally overlook. What unfolded around Eleanor's Christmas table was nothing short of miraculous. Stories flowed as freely as the gravy. The homeless man sharing Christmas memories from his childhood in Jamaica. The CEO confessing how lonely leadership can be. The young mother tearfully admitting this was her first Christmas as a single parent. Each person's lost and found moment of connection healed something in someone else. Eleanor, presiding over the feast with a grace she hadn't shown in years, was no longer just a client or a patient or a lonely old woman. She was the matriarch of a chosen family, the heart of a community she'd built with nothing more than courage and a Christmas wish. The most beautiful moment came when Eleanor stood to speak, her voice trembling not with age but with emotion. "For years," she said, "I thought my life was over because my family was gone. But today, I've discovered that family isn't just who you're born to. It's who you choose to love and who chooses to love you back." The reconciliation she'd found wasn't with her absent children, but with life itself, with the possibility of joy after loss, connection after loneliness, purpose after thinking her meaningful days were behind her. And as she looked around at the faces glowing in the candlelight, she understood that her Christmas wish had granted her something even more precious than she'd asked for. You know how one small stone can create ripples across an entire pond? Well, Eleanor's Christmas dinner created waves that would transform her community in ways nobody could have predicted. The connections made around her table didn't end when the last dish was washed. They grew, multiplied, and became the foundation for a neighborhood support network that would outlast the holiday season. The young family started checking on the widow across the street. The college students began volunteering at the nursing home. The CEO implemented flexible holidays so employees could spend time with aging parents. The unexpected help Eleanor had received became unexpected help she gave to dozens of others. Now, here's something you can apply to your own life. What small act of connection could you initiate that might create ripples in your community? You don't need to host a 30-person dinner to make a difference. Start with what I call micro-connections, the 5-minute conversation with your grocery cashier, remembering your barista's name, offering to carry groceries for an elderly neighbor. This week, commit to 3 of these small connections and watch how they begin to weave a safety net of community around you and others. In the weeks following Christmas, Eleanor's home became something entirely new. It became the neighborhood's living room. The formal parlor where nobody had sat for years now hosted book clubs and knitting circles. The dining table that had gathered dust between holidays now regularly seated neighbors for simple Tuesday dinners. Maya's role evolved from healthcare aide to community coordinator, her own financial struggle eased by the network of support that had grown around Eleanor. The second chance they'd given each other had blossomed into second chances for everyone they touched, proving that hope is contagious when we have the courage to share our vulnerabilities. The most profound transformation, however, was in Eleanor herself. The woman who had once measured her days by doctor's appointments and medication schedules now filled her calendar with community activities. Her family secret, that she felt abandoned and useless, had been replaced by the joyful reality that she was the heart of a thriving intergenerational community. The dignity she'd maintained through her lonely years was now expressed not through stoic endurance, but through joyful engagement with life. And as she planned her first Easter gathering, already twice the size of her Christmas dinner, she realized that her greatest legacy wouldn't be the wealth she'd accumulated, but the community she'd built from a simple Christmas wish. You know, the true measure of a life isn't in what we accumulate, but in what we give away, and I'm not talking about money. Eleanor's Christmas wish, born from loneliness and captured in a diary, became the seed that grew into a lasting legacy of connection. A year after that first transformative Christmas dinner, the neighborhood had fundamentally changed. The streets where people used to hurry past each other now hosted block parties and front yard conversations. The community that had been a collection of strangers was now a network of mutual support, all because one woman had the courage to write down her deepest wish and another had the compassion to help make it real. Let me ask you something. What legacy are you building with your daily choices? Not the grand, dramatic gestures, but the small, consistent acts of seeing people, hearing them, valuing them. This month, try legacy journaling. Each evening, write down one small way you connected with someone or made them feel seen. Over time, you'll notice patterns emerging that reveal the unique imprint you're leaving on the world, the particular hope you're bringing to others simply by being fully present in your relationships. The partnership between Eleanor and Maya had blossomed into something neither could have predicted. They'd started a nonprofit called Christmas Wish Connections that helped other isolated elders create community gatherings. Maya's financial struggle was now a distant memory, replaced by meaningful work that fed her soul. Eleanor's children, hearing about the transformation in their mother, had begun visiting regularly, not out of obligation, but because they genuinely wanted to be part of the vibrant life she'd created. The reconciliation she'd stopped hoping for had found her when she stopped waiting for it and started building the life she wanted. As next Christmas approached, Eleanor stood in her kitchen, now permanently smelling of good food and warm memories, and smiled. The diary that had started it all sat open on the counter, not as a record of loneliness, but as a reminder of the power of speaking our deepest truths. The family secret was no longer that she was lonely, but that she had discovered the secret to defeating loneliness at any age. Be the connection you wish to see. Speak the wish you're afraid to voice, and trust that there are hands ready to help if we're brave enough to reach for them. And as she listened to the sounds of her chosen family preparing for another Christmas feast, she understood that the greatest gifts aren't found under trees, but in the spaces between people where love and community take root and grow. So let me ask you this. Who's the Eleanor in your world that you've been overlooking? What simple wish is someone carrying that you have the power to help fulfill? Here's the powerful truth this story reveals. Your financial struggle doesn't define your capacity to make a difference. Your age or position doesn't determine your value to your community. Sometimes the people who seem to have the least to give, whether in years, health, or resources, actually hold the greatest power to transform the world around them. Now I want you to consider, what lonely person in your life needs to be seen today? What small act of connection could you initiate that might grow into something larger? What wish have you been too afraid to speak out loud that someone might be waiting to help you fulfill? If this story inspired you to look at the elderly people in your life with new eyes, if you believe that community can be built at any age and from any circumstance, then do me one favor. Hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Why? Because every week we share true stories like this one that prove it's never too late to find your purpose or make a difference. Your journey toward building meaningful connections across generations starts with one click, and I'll be right here to guide you every step of the way.